Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world, or whatever day it is when you watch this. First of all, thank you for being with us today. I am Jock, and this is a new episode of Deadly Departed. And when we come right back, we're actually going to be answering a question that was sent in by one of our viewers and someone I've helped over the past. And this is going to open your eyes a little bit more into what we were discussing. And also from the recent video that I put out on spiritual protection, which if you've not actually seen it, then go back and watch it there. So when we come right back, we're going to actually talk about how you get attachments, how you get psychic attack, or how you get infested by spirits. So God bless. See you soon. Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So, as I said, we're going to jump right into this. But first of all, before I do, if this is the first time that you've been here, then thank you for joining us. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel or you subscribe to the podcast, if you want to, that is. And if you've got any questions after the session, then please send us a message either below or connect with me on my website or Instagram or anything and ask me any questions. So, we're going to jump right into today's episode. And this was a question that came in that was after I had released that video on spiritual protection. It was, how do spirits attach to you? How do spirits get into your infestation? Now, bearing in mind, I'm not going to be talking about demonic infestation or oppression. That's for another video, and that's for other videos we're talking about. But this is generally about how you can be influenced by spirit, how you can be influenced or attached from a spirit. Well, how does that happen and why does it happen? So we're going to run into a few examples, and by no means are these examples the whole end, the only list that exists or the only reasons. But I just want to cover some main points so that you understand how easy it is to be influenced and how easy it is to have a spirit attachment. Okay, so let's just jump straight into it. So one of the most important ways that you will get a spirit attachment is really your vibration, your vibrational attraction. If you vibrate at a lower level, then by spiritual law, like attracts like, you're going to attract spirits of that lower level. And if you sending out or emitting that energy that's of a lower vibration, then it's going to match. And so that attraction is going to happen there. And if there's a way that a spirit can, from that attraction, get into you, they're going to find that way. And that may be how you live your life, which kind of leads me on to the second point. So the second point is really within that vibrational attraction, how you live your life would be if you're alcoholic, you drink too much, or you take drugs, something like that. So that, that can have a detrimental effect to your energy body, to your auric field. And so, of course, if there's a tear in that, if there's a breach in that energetic field that we spoke about in the last video, then, of course, that's a weak point. That's a weak entry point, and that can happen. So that's obviously that vibration. And again, the vibration will also encompass, for instance, if you are in a location that is a very low energy vibration as well, or has a negative past or have a negative history, and you are still at a low vibration, then you can attract these spirits. The other way that a lot of people understand and know about is through dabbling with the occult. Now, people argue about this all the time, but dabbling with the occult does not necessarily mean doing a psychic reading or doing a reading. I did a video, which you can go and I'll put up here. You did a video a wee while ago about if you could, you could be possessed or you could have a spirit infestation if you went and seen psychics or mediums. So go and watch that, because that kind of covers a little bit of that. So, but dabbling in the occult could be taking part in any sort of ritualistic things. Now, there's obviously people will then come and say, well, there's good rituals, there's religious rituals, and there's occult rituals. And yes, there is. And in the same token, they're both rituals. But one will have it's the intention that's behind it. And so dabbling with the occult in a ritualistic manner with an intention to connect with the other side, communicate with the other side, and that your vibration obviously doesn't match or your vibration's not high, then that is another way that you can be attracted. You can attract a spirit and cause a potential influence or infestation. And so also one of the reasons, and as everybody argues about this, is utilizing Ouija boards, and people will say Ouija boards, it's dangerous and there's no science behind it. And, and whilst that's true, what you've actually got to remember that utilizing a Ouija board is again all about the intention, the same as a ritual. If you are intent on communicating with spirit on the other side, it doesn't matter whether you use a Ouija board, whether you use, a plant or a doll or anything that's around about you. If your intention is strong enough, you're going to send out that vibration, and that vibration is going to attract the requisite forces that match that vibration. Or alternatively, if it's a malevolent intelligence, they don't need to match the vibration. They'll be attracted when the signal's out there. And of course, if there's a weak disposition, if you're weak in your spiritual growth or you're weak in your development, then that's another reason why that can happen. So it's not the board in itself that's dangerous. It is the inherent use of the board with intention to connect to the other side. So another way, spirits can attach to you, we've mentioned about the vibration side and dealing with the occult, and it also can be in your emotional point. So it could be that you're incredibly depressed, and from that depression, your thoughts are, again, this is probably in relationship to the vibration as well, but in your depression and being depressed and constantly having a negative disposition, then you open yourself up to potential influence or potential attack. And also the depression could be a side effect of an already influenced spirit who's actually influencing you at the moment in that time. So your vibrational match, you're attracting it through dealing with the cult, and obviously through your emotional point of attraction, your depression, or even you're dealing with alcohol or drugs, and that will also reduce the power in your spirit. But one of the most important things as well is your spiritual development. If you're trying to develop spiritually and you're actually not spiritually developed, or you're not vibrating a great rate, what you think in your mind or what you believe you are, there's many people that believe they're so spiritually evolved that they're totally 100% protected. And that's not actually true, because your vibration can often tell a different story to what your ego's telling you. And so if you're not spiritually adept or spiritually evolved enough, and you don't have a really deep spiritual practice, then you're at the risk of being influenced by a foreign invader, by a spirit, etc. So, you might think that you're very spiritual and you're connecting and you're taking part with your tarot cards and all this kind of stuff, and maybe you're starting to do psychic readings or mediumship, and before you know it, you don't really know that you don't have a strong discernment because of your spiritual vibration, and therefore you could end up having a spirit problem, having an attachment to you, or of course your client or someone that you're reading to. And again, you just go and watch that video that I did. So you really have to work hard at your spiritual vibration. And that means everything in your mind, your body, your soul, and particularly your mind. Your mind is the battlefield. And many spirits from the past in trance teachings have alluded to this. They've alluded to the Red Cloud alluded to the spiritual disposition of individuals and them not being strong. Imperator that happened. It was another spirit that came through, a person back in the day and back in the 18th century, and the communications that was coming there was very high level communications, but the band of 49 made it clear that there was definitely a danger of opening yourself up to the spirit world, and that your spiritual vibration may actually attract spirits. And if you were, you didn't have a good spiritual power or a good spiritual way of life, and that doesn't necessarily mean religious. Remember, I'm saying the difference is not religion or spirituality. We're not kind of taking it into two camps. Spirituality can encompass so many different things and so many different ways of living. It doesn't necessarily mean a dogmatic faith or a dogmatic belief system, because inherently it doesn't matter what faith you are, you can still be influenced by a spirit. It's all to do with the vibration and the energy, really. And so that's just a few of the ways that this can happen, a few of the ways that you can actually attract a spirit, or the few of the ways that you can find yourself in messy soup, so to speak. And of course, you can go to a place like it's inherent in war zones, and where there's death and there's destruction, and that energy that's laid in there that's heavy, it's a heavy negative energy. And of course, that's going to attract lower level entities and lower level spirits. And in that same token, the trauma can also be a factor. So severe trauma can create enough of a break or enough of a tear, if you like, or enough of a gateway, can open up a gateway to having a spirit intrusion. And that, again, we're not talking about demonology, we're not talking about demoniacal spirits here, we're just talking about spirits on the other side of life, on the lower astral realms. So severe trauma, even in a car accident, or a trauma from injury, or even from abuse. Abuse is a big thing. Anybody who's read Deadly Departed will know that I talk about how a possession can actually take place through abuse. And so that's another way that can happen. Trauma can be a potential vehicle for negative influence and a negative disposition. And then there's also the case of where I like to talk about piggyback spirits, where you're going to have a spirit that will piggyback on something else and then will come in. But again, everything breaks down to a fundamental point of your vibrational attraction. If you're living in a low earthly vibe and you're living by gossip and fear-mongering and all sorts of stuff like that, and having a negative outlook and having a negative disposition and maybe dabbling in the occult or taking drugs or anything like that, then you open yourself up to that potential as a vehicle for a spiritual influence. And so that's some of the things that you need to be aware of. We could go on and on and on and on and talk about all sorts of different ways that things can happen. But I hope that just gives you a good idea of where you are and how easy it actually can be. Remember, you can't necessarily, can't see what it is that's attaching to you, but you might feel it. If there's a subtle change, or if there's a drastic change in how you're feeling, or even in your mindset, you have to be aware of your mind all the time. The thoughts that are coming into your mind, are they of a higher disposition, or are they lower level thoughts? Is it really you that is thinking this, or do you think that you could have been in a place? And this is the big problem with paranormal investigators who haven't developed even themselves spiritually enough, but they see it on TV. Before they know it, they've got some equipment and camera stuff and EVPs, and they go out there, and their intention is to communicate with the other side. And nine times out of 10, it doesn't happen, but there's always that chance that it will. And it depends on your vibration, your mindset, your spiritual protection. And that's another thing. If people who are dabbling with the occult, or they're dealing with Ouija boards or tarot decks or anything like that, and they don't pray, or they don't have a particular spiritual practice for protection, that also can be a weakened disposition, which can then be another catalyst or another vehicle to that. So there's many other ways. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've got any questions, then please reach out to me. Ask. I'm quite happy to share with that. Or if you've actually had an experience where you believe that you were infested, or are not infested, but you are influenced by spirit, or someone that was influenced by spirit, or someone who was spiritually claimed they were adept and then was influenced by negativity, then let us know. Let us know about that example. Share that information with us, because who knows, your story might help to educate someone else in the future. So again, if you've got any questions, ladies and gentlemen, please reach out to me. And remember, if you want to register for my upcoming 6-month development protection course, protection training, then please do so. The start date will be announced very soon. You'll get a link below where you can actually sign up, and you're not accepted there and then, but you can sign up for it, and then we'll go through the process, because it is limited and it is by acceptance only. So have a wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen. That's just a very quick video that goes into just some of the reasons why you may be infested or influenced by spiritual forces outside of yourself or within your environment. So God bless and stay safe.